Daniel vision of a ram and a goat. The vision concerned the time of the end, the appointed time of God's wrath. So since that time, we are still under the wrath of the Lord Almighty. You've witnessed, you've heard all the abnormal floods, the fires, Maui fires, wildfires, scorching heat, earthquakes, landslides, tornadoes. Everything is being destroyed. It was written, during the time of the end, all the tall buildings will be brought down. They are being brought down slowly by slowly because the heavens have been opened. The snowstorms, and this is found in Job 38. The floodgates have been opened. The snows that were preserved for the time of trouble. It is judgment time. The wrath of the Lord Almighty. And the plagues are coming more and more. Still wild animals are to devour the land. Great famine is coming, for the Lord himself is cutting the supply. The road network is being devastated. There will be no more transportation. There will be no more movement. There will be no more supply of food and commodities. I was given a vision of the tap having the last drop of water. Food and supply are going to be cut off. More famine is coming. Great famine is coming. People will feed on each other. Even on wild animals, dead carcasses. Great trouble is still much ahead. So why did Elijah appear during the transfiguration? It is just same with the plagues, how the Lord appeared through Elijah at the mountain. That's how the Lord is appearing. And remember, during the time of Elijah, the Baal prophets were destroyed. Same with this resurrection time. All the false prophets, all the satanic altars are going to be destroyed. There will be no more. It is cleaning and cleansing the land for the new to come, what only belongs to God, the new earth and heavens. Remember, during the time of Elijah, the Baal prophets were destroyed. It is same with this resurrection period. All the false prophets, all the dark altars, shrines. There are also secret churches of the devil, and many people have flocked in. For many have entered through the wide gate and left the narrow gate that leads to life. Even we have schools, hospitals that are secret altars of the devil. The bars and clubs are satanic altars. The dogs that bark at people who don't belong to them, having all kinds of immorality, all are being destroyed. People have been made to enter into dark covenants, knowingly or unknowingly. This will be expounded during the time of the prophecy. When the media comes, they have to avail themselves in Nalondo Faith Christian Church, which is located on the rough road off from the main road that leads to Chole. It is just a few steps from the main road. And the elect media station for this purpose are Citizen TV, Royal Media Services, SK Masharia and Evelyn Mwalili, plus your elect crew, BBC World News, and TV Magharibi. And Raila Amolo Odinga with the Azimio team, you have to be present because you are the leader, the king of the Lord, and you are the one in charge of everything. Whatever you are doing in Nairobi, get away from Ruto, because the sword is coming for him, the sword of the Lord Almighty, and come and do the will of the Lord Almighty. In preparation for the main prophecy that will expound on everything, and coming to desolation, nothing will enter it that is defiled. There are rules and laws that must be observed. It will be known during that time. For now, I'm just doing a summary, waiting for the media and for the elect of the Lord Almighty to gather to form the spiritual mountain of resurrection and fulfill the will of the Lord Almighty. During the desolation, people will be required to build temporary shelters. Gold and silver belongs to me, says the Lord Almighty. Everything of value belongs to the Lord Almighty. Everything that is of value belongs to the Lord Almighty. Everything that is valuable belongs to the Lord Almighty. Everything now belongs to the Lord Almighty. People are to come and build temporary shelters and settle during the desolation period, rebuilding the city of the Lord Almighty. And when the mountain of the Lord will be built, the grand Jewish temple that will serve as the throne of the Lord Almighty, it will have a raised base, and the rooms will hang above the sky. This is the same place where we will see the glory of the Lord Almighty. And it is this same place where the Lord will finally grant peace. So the trouble is on until the time when this mountain will be built, the temple of the Lord Almighty, which will serve as the throne of the Lord. And that's how too the Lord and Jesus will dwell with us forever and ever. The prophecy about war coming in Africa, done by Prophet Owor, the war is really coming. For the exit of Ruto, it will be bloodshed. It will be a sudden attack of terror. An army that the Lord has stirred up in his own spirit and might to fulfill the Lord's purpose. And this is explained in 2 Samuel 20, where it is said, "Why are you persecuting us?" Joab replied, "Because he raised his hand upon the King of the Lord Almighty, Raila Amolo Odinga, and for this purpose his head will be thrown over the wall," meaning his leadership will reach the final. It is happening soon. And on the day of this happening, the stars will fall. The darkness will cover the land. And this prophecy was given to Prophet Mitsubai, the looming bloodshed in Nairobi. And it will spread to the coastal area. It will be a bad slaughter. Women will be raped. And violated. Even infants won't be spared. And apart from this bloodshed, there is a tsunami that is made to happen in the coastal area. Because the coastal area is the ancient land of the Babylonians, the great Babylon, and the sea will be no more. We have the physical land of the Babylonians. The great Babylon is fallen, the great Babylon is fallen. That is the coastal area, the ancient land of captivity that has led many people into captivity. But we do have the spiritual Babylon, the woman in the basket. And this woman in the basket, the spiritual Babylon, is USA. It crowned itself as a superpower. It crowned itself as a superpower. And it has made the world drunk. How has it made the world drunk? Through the entertainment industry. The Hollywood being the kingdom of Satan. Jay-Z and Beyonce the rulers of this devil's kingdom. Beyonce as goddess. Through the secular music, pornography, videos, cartoons, there's the drug abuse, all this will be expounded. That's how people have been made drunk. Instead of them being drunk with the word of the Lord, they have been made drunk with the things of the world. The Spirit of the Lord manifested in Revelation Ministries with the Shamar prophet of God, Onyango. The sea will rise. The sea will rise. A tsunami is coming. Trouble is on the land. And there will only be a remnant. That's why in the Transfiguration, you find Moses and Elijah appeared. Because during the time of Elijah, a remnant remained. And who are this remnant that will remain? The rushers of the Lord. The people who have not bowed down to idols, to vile images, who only worship and fear the Lord Almighty. Just like in the time of Elijah, there were 7,000 who remained that had not bowed down their knees to Baal. So, this time of transfiguration, there will be a remnant, just like the time of Elijah. Ruto, William Samoei Ruto, you are the eagle that swooped over Moab. And you find in Isaiah 46, I am the Lord and there's no other. It continues and says, from the east I bring a bird of prey, and from the west, and from a far off land, a man to fulfill my purpose. So God allowed you to come into power because you are the bird of prey. And everybody has witnessed how you are preying on not only Kenyans, but the whole world. So William Samoei Ruto, you are the bird of prey. But the man to fulfill the Lord's purpose from a far off land is Raila Amolo Odinga, the King of the Lord Almighty. Through you, Ruto, you accepted the satanic leadership into Kenya, the holy nation of the Lord Almighty. We are being ruled and led by the voices of darkness. That's speaking because our bodies are only vessels. That's why you find even someone like Kuria, now that our body is only vessels, the voices of darkness are speaking that so long as you're in Kenya, you're a dead person. Those are the voices of darkness. And if you look carefully at that video, you'll notice that it wasn't Kuria speaking, but the voices of darkness, evident on his eyes. William Samoei Ruto, you swore to put down the Bible. You swore to put down the Bible. The deeper of this, it means it was an oath and a condition that you had to fulfill the moment you came to power. Now that you accepted the satanic leadership, Your days are numbered. They are coming to an end very soon. The Lord is about to haul you up in his net and drag you off to a far away land, and you will never see this land again. William Samoei Ruto, what awaits you plus all your surrounding villages? You are the rubber of the Ammonites. Who are your surrounding villages? All the people that help you to steal the elections because you messed with the throne of the Lord Almighty. You are in trouble. The judgment of the Lord, the sword of the Lord is coming to you and all the many others. Chebukati, the Supreme Court, you lied. You are going to suffer. You will seek death and never find. You will suffer. You will suffer. Nobody messes with God. Nobody messes with God. You are in great trouble. The Spirit of the Lord most so manifested in Revelation Ministries and spoke against you and your leadership. You have never repented. You have made yourself proud, taking yourself to the heights, but you will drop in an instant. You are going to be a disgrace. Even the false prophets that deceived you that you are God's chosen, eating and being fed by the things of the world, satisfying their own physical, they will too suffer. They won't be spared. The sword of the Lord is coming, because Kenya is the valley of slaughter. It is the valley of vision. It is the valley of the dry bones. And your inauguration ceremony marked the beginning of the valley of slaughter. That is Jeremiah. The inauguration ceremony marked the beginning of the valley of slaughter. That is Jeremiah 7 towards the end, and then 8, 1 to 3. And I remember during that ceremony, there was a pastor who prayed, and in his prayer, the Spirit of the Lord manifested, and it spoke and said, now is when you are being crossed the Red Sea, Kenyans. And remember, during the time of Moses, when the Israelites were being crossed the Red Sea, it became the valley of slaughter for the enemies. So from that time till now that we are in, it is still the valley of slaughter. And when you read 8, it says, at that time, the bone of graves of the leaders, the priests, the people of the land, will all be exposed to the sun and the moon and the stars, of which they consulted, they worshipped and obeyed. What does this mean? The bone of graves, the deepest secrets that have been hidden, doing in secrecy about the people, the priests, all will be exposed to everyone in the whole world, to be known in the whole world. And furthermore, all the idols which are still the sun, the moon, of which they worshipped and consulted, will all be known. You are witnessing everything. all the truth coming out about the DCI, the leaders, the priests. When you go to YouTube, you see and hear all the confessions of everything. And the burn of graves involves of the satanic kingdom, of the heavenly kingdom, and of the people. So an inauguration ceremony on 13th marked the beginning of the valley of slaughter, because this is the verse that I was given on that day. And how were we stuck at the Red Sea during the Supreme Court case? That's how we were stuck at the Red Sea with Moses, Raila Amolo Odinga. And he had to pave way. Although there was a malpractice, and they upholded Ruto, he had to accept, and that's how he paved way. And the enemy pursued us. Ruto, Pharaoh. Uhuru Kenyatta was Pharaoh, and Ruto was among Pharaoh's army. So during the inauguration ceremony, that's how, when he was given the sword, that's how Pharaoh pursued the Israelites who were living with Moses to the promised land through Ruto. But Uhuru Kenyatta, you still are ashes of the Lord Almighty. The problem is the foundations that you were born in are the ones that are tormenting you. But during the time of the prophecy, what has to be done will be known. For you have the mark of the Lord Almighty. There's an offering that you will give. Even Raila Amolo Odinga, there's an offering that you will give. Even Rachel Ruto, there is an offering that you will give. For your efforts will be rewarded, Rachel Ruto. William Samoei Ruto will suffer alone, because he honors God with his mouth. It is not from the heart. He isn't pure. But with Raila Amolo Odinga, he is pure. So trouble is coming, Kenyans. Great trouble is coming. To some people, they think that it will be easier to flee to Nalondo, the place of desolation, for safety. But I tell you, it is near, but the journey will be very difficult. And remember, during the prophecy of a war, when he said that he was given a golden ring surrounding Bungoma, the place of resurrection, he added more and said that only Bungoma and Kakamega will there be water. Meaning that not only the physical water, but only Bungoma and Kakamega will have life. But the rest of the other places, there will be no life. There will be totally no life. At the threat of 1, 1,000 will flee. At the threat of 5, all will have fled. And the country will be like a flagstaff on a mountain. People will be made to flee to the desolation place, because many will be reluctant to leave their mansions, their luxurious lives, to come and build temporary shelters. But the Lord will make people to flee with terror. And the first terror that I was given in 2021, this is the vision that I had. I saw huge giant rocks descending from heaven above, falling down. And story buildings were being shaken. They were swaying, wanting to fall down. And on the ground, people were running in all directions for safety. Even little children. Some have been abandoned. People were crying, wailing, not knowing where to go. So there is terror. People will be made to flee. There is great terror. Wild animals are to devour the land. There is great terror coming. People will be made to flee, and some will die. Only there will be a remnant, and that remnant, the tribe of Israel, the 144,000. So prepare. Everything is coming to a stop. No more tax paying, no more rent paying, no more businesses, no more reporting to work. Everything. The only place that there will be life is Nalondo to Mabanga, the place of desolation, to do and fulfill the work of the Lord Almighty. Zechariah 1, it is a call to return to the Lord. To return everything to the Lord. Your time, your effort, your energy, your skills, everything to return to the Lord. And the Lord will return to us. Everything is coming to a stop. A very, very great stop. The prophecies have been made of Raila's presidency. He doesn't understand, but he is the king of the Lord. It is found in Ezekiel, the one nation under one king. In the new heavens that is happening, the end of it all, it is one nation under one king. Who is the king? Raila Amolo Odinga. And how will it happen? You will all witness. The one nation under one king. And that's how the Lord will dwell with us forever and evermore. There's this prophecy of a prophet in England. It is in YouTube. I think Eagle Ministries, Kenya the Eye. And in this prophecy, this prophet was given the prophecy that Ruto is only preparing the way of the King of the Lord. It is about to happen because the King of the Lord Almighty, it is Raila Amolo Odinga. Other prophecies have included from Mitsubai about Raila will be president. The other one from Onyango Revelation Ministries about Raila's presidency. The prophecies are there. He is coming to power in the spirit and the might of the Lord Almighty. And no one will prevent that. No one will prevent that. Because the royalty, the overturnment of royal thrones will be back in Kenya. The royal throne of the Lord. There are 3 royal families. It will be known during the prophecy. The Gog and Magog war, it is not yet. The Gog and Magog war, it is not yet. Completely not yet. In 2019, this is the dream that I had. We were gathered in an ancient old building. And to get into the building, there were closely packed stairs to get in. While we were in, suddenly, the walls of the building were broken. It began to crack. And I and others began to run outside for safety. And some other people decided to remain in the building. So while we were outside, and I was together with my sister, Lynette, as we watched other people fleeing, suddenly there was a great earthquake, and the ground was split into 2. A huge valley separated us from those people in that building. No one could cross to the other side. So as we watched, in an instant, there was an explosion of fire, a huge explosion of fire in that building. And we watched people being burned to ashes. And as we watched, as we were on the other side, the right side, suddenly, the ground that we were standing in, we were lifted up high. This dream explains the Gog and the Magog war. It explains the desolation. It explains the separation of the sheep and goats. I'm not digging deeper, but during the time of the prophecy, I will dig deeper. So the rapture is here. We have the physical and the spiritual rapture. Now with the terror that is coming, and we are into it, the great tribulation, there's the spiritual rapture, where even men will burst into tears like women in labor. Because the sins that are going to happen, many will not withstand. Painful sins of terror. People will wish that they will have been long dead because of the terrifying sins and images that are going to be witnessed. This is the spiritual rapture. It will be beyond them, unbearable. This is the spiritual rapture. And that's how God is humbling people down, because people have made themselves to have stone hearts, hardened hearts that don't want to hear from the Lord Almighty, to be stiff-necked. So currently, we are at Gilgal, the circumference, the circle, the circumcision at Gilgal. The promised land is just here, but we are just surrounding, because we have hardened ourselves People are being circumcised with the flint knife of the Lord Almighty, with the terrors that are happening, and more is still coming. They are humbled in that way, so that they may be able to hear from the Lord Almighty, to turn their ears and hear and obey the Lord, to only fear the Lord Almighty. So, my fellow Kenyans, trouble is coming. Trouble is coming. Trouble is coming. We are millions in the whole world, but the remnant will only be 144,000, the tribe of Israel. The Kikuyus are Edomites. The Luyas are Judah. The Luos are Ephraimites. The Kambas are Manasseh. Now, someone is wondering, David, Jesus was the root of David. And David was of Judah. Raila is a Luo. He is an Ephraimite. An Ephraimite is Joseph. So, he is not of David's lineage. The resurrection summarizes so many things, even the promises that was in the beginning, at the beginning. The promise of the Ephraimite and Manasseh is being fulfilled. So Raila Amolo Odinga is only being given the key to the house of David as an Ephraimite. But when the time comes, the prince will take over. The prince is of Judah, Luya. And for all the time that Raila will be king, the prince of the Lord, Samuel Barasa Lukibisi, he remains the spiritual son of Raila Amolo Odinga, to mentor him and prepare him for succession when time comes. So Raila Amolo Odinga, your spiritual son, Samuel Barasa Lukibisi, you'll mentor him, prepare him for the succession. So when he comes into power, at that time, after Raila, that's how the David lineage of royalty will be restored. Because there will be a royal wedding of the prince and the princess. And this royal wedding, there will bear a son. They will have a son. The prince and princess, they will have a son. And this son will take over when time comes after the prince. And that's how the lineage of David continues, the royalty lineage. So Raila is only being given the key to the house of David as an Ephraimite. He is not of Judah. So Raila Amolo Odinga, the Ephraimite son of the Lord, the firstborn son, O Ephraimite. It is in Jeremiah. You discipline me like an unruly calf, blah, 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 blah. Prepare the road. Take note of the highway. O Israel, virgin daughter Israel, return, and the woman will return to the man. Which man is this? Raila Amolo Odinga. The woman will return to the man. The country will be returned to him, because he is the heir of the Lord Almighty, the Ephraimite son, the first son of the Lord Almighty, the firstborn son of the Lord Almighty. Rachel is now weeping and crying because the descendants are no more, but her efforts will be rewarded. So change is coming. With all the mandamanus and everything that Raila has been doing, he has been preparing the guideposts, putting up the road signs, taking note of the highway. These are all the preparations that he has been doing. Now when you go to Daniel, the 77s, 77s is the period that your people are meant to atone for sin, finish transgression. It goes on and to seal prophecies and put an end to sin. The 77s. 77s. It is the years of the King of the Lord, Raila Amolo Odinga. The 77s. The 70, and when you add 7 sevens, the sevens, it brings 77 years. When was Raila? How old was he during the elections time, 2022? The 77s. See how far we have come. The seal of prophecies. So the woman president is sealing all the prophecies, and to anoint the most holy place. Which is the most holy place? This is Nalondo to Mabanga. And the most holy place is where the throne of the Lord will be established. The mountain of the Lord. Isaiah 2. In the last days, the mountain of the Lord will be built. It goes on, the temple of Jacob. Then it goes on, it says, the war clubs will be through this mountain. The war will be put to an end. People will be back to farming. That's how I've told you, it is the same place where the Lord will finally grant peace. This is found in Haggai 1:2. The call to build the Lord's house. And who has this call? The woman president. He is the great prophet, and he is the Zerubbabel, the signet of the Lord. Every detail is with me. Who the architecture is, the builders, everything during the prophecy will be made known. Now, the description of everything about the temple is found in Ezekiel. When you read the prophetic books, you may think that these are all past events, but no, they are not past events. They are judgments of nations. And when I speak of nations, not nations that have been man-made, the countries like that we have right now on the world map, but the nations of the Lord Almighty. Remember, during the time of Noah, when they came out from the ark, when the Lord destroyed the world, the sons of Noah are the ones who laid the table of nations. So the nations of the Lord Almighty are the descendants of these people. That's why you find there's judgment on Edom, there's judgment on Moab, Egypt. It goes on. And you find, despite this judgment, there are remnants. And when you read the remnants, it's only the tribe of Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel. Edom is not Israel, but Edom is Esau. Israel is Jacob. So, what will happen to these other people now that the only remnant is of Israel? This is found in Ezekiel, and it is written, these other nations that are not of Israel So these other nations, the remnant of people that are not of the tribe of Israel, will be regarded as